Good evening and welcome to the April 2nd, 2014 Town Board meeting. I'll officially call the meeting to order. And I'll ask that we please rise for the pledge. And tonight we have Bernadette Bunny Brinkman, our librarian for the Penfield Library. And I'd ask that she please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Hall.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler. Here. Moore.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
Okay. Tonight, I'm going to start off with our special guest, our Penfield Public Librarian, Bunny Brinkman. And I'd ask Councilwoman Linda Cole to go to the podium. And if Bunny, if you would please join her there.
As you know, National Library Week is April 13th through the 19th. However, we're going to read the proclamation here to our Penfield librarian tonight because we won't be here on the 16th due to Passover. So I shall read the proclamation for National Library Week. Whereas libraries help lives change in their communities, campuses, and schools. Whereas librarians work to meet the changing needs of their communities, including providing resources for everyone and providing services outside of library walls. Whereas libraries and librarians bring together community members to enrich and shape the community and address local issues. Whereas librarians are trained, tech-savvy professionals, providing technical training and access to downloadable content like ebooks. Whereas libraries offer programs to meet community needs, provide residents with services such as computers to help with job searching and preparation, access to resources, 24/7, assistance with financial aid forms for students, financial planning services for older adults planning their retirement. Whereas libraries continuously grow and evolve in how they provide for the needs of every member of their community. Whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Whereas members of the Penfield community of every age and interest are fortunate to have an outstanding team of library professionals who take pride in excellent customer service, outstanding programs, and demonstrate leadership in their field. Now, therefore, be it resolved that R. Anthony LaFountain, Supervisor of the Town of Penfield, New York, proclaim National Library Week, April 13th through the 19th, 2014. I encourage all residents to visit our library this week to take advantage of the wonderful library resources available. This is dated April 2nd and signed by the Supervisor. And we have a wonderful librarian in Penfield, Bunny Brinkman. Here you are.
Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you, and I'd like to thank the community for this recognition of what I modestly claim is a very valuable resource in our community of Penfield. Coincidentally, National Library Week, April 13th to 19th, also happens to be break week for the students of Penfield, so we expect to do a lot of traffic. And we have lots of programs planned for all ages, so we're hoping that those students and their families will come in. And if you haven't visited the library lately, you may be in for a surprise for some of the things we have available for you at the library. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Bunny. Thank you very much for everything you do. And another plug for that week, that is break week. There are a number of families that stay close to Penfield, and you have a lot of exciting programs to be offered that week as well, right?
It's packed, and anybody can find out what those programs are by calling the library or visiting our website, penfieldlibrary.org.
Great. We'll make sure that we continue to plug that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your time as always, and thank you for everything that you do for our community.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, we'll continue on with our communications and announcements, and I'll start with our town clerk, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a reminder that the next passport event will be held April 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall Auditorium. For more information, please contact me at 340-8629 or go on the town's website at www.penfield.org and then my town clerk's page, and then click on passport application requirements link. Thank you.
Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. Just a reminder that the annual VFW Memorial Day Essay Contest is underway. Applications are now available at penfieldrec.org and in person at the Recreation Office at the Community Center. The contest deadline is April 25th. And also join us for the annual Penfield Cleanup Day on Saturday, May 3rd. Families, groups, individuals, and teams are welcome to help pick up debris and beautify Penfield. The event will be held from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., beginning at the Penfield Community Center. This is a great community service project or a fun way to help out in the community with your family. This year, Boy Scout Troop 310 will hold a pancake breakfast beginning at 8 a.m. and ending at 10 at the community center in conjunction with the event to help fuel you before heading out to clean up, so don't miss it. Also, the Stormwater Coalition of Monroe County will be on hand with supplies to help families make their very own rain barrel to take home. There will be other environmental education tables as well. To register yourself or a group, or for more information, please call Sabrina at 340-8651 or email Sabrina at srenner, R-E-N-N-E-R, at penfield.org. Thank you very much.
I have two announcements this evening. The first, today is World Autism Awareness Day, and April is National Autism Awareness Month. Today, throughout the world, individuals will come together highlighting the needs and dreams of people living with autism. As some of you know, I am one of many parents in Penfield of a child with autism, so I am pleased that this recognition is here locally as well. You may see people wearing blue today, and throughout the month you may see blue lights around the town on buildings and businesses as well as on homes. If you are interested in having a blue autism awareness light, they do have them down at Home Depot. All of us at the Autism Society are honoring and respecting each individual living with autism for whom they are. We celebrate and honor fellow parents, siblings, grandparents, teachers, and other professionals who provide support and love to all those living on the autism spectrum. For more information regarding the Autism Society, you may visit autism-society.org. Locally, there's a tremendous organization that I belong to called Autism Up. You may visit them at autismup.org. The town of Penfield is proud to partner with Autism Up. Last year, Autism Up approached us for their first ever kite flight fundraiser, which was very well attended at Rothfuss Park, and we're looking forward to more partnerships with that organization in the future. My second announcement is that spring brings a number of opportunities to clean up, clear out, and properly dispose of unwanted materials in an environmentally sound way. On Saturday, April 26th, from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Monroe County Department of Environmental Services and the towns of Penfield, Webster, and the village of Webster will jointly host an appointment-only household hazardous waste collection at the Penfield Highway Garage. We do rotate this amongst the towns, and it is our turn this year to host it. The Highway Garage is located at 1607 Jackson Road. You can schedule your appointment with Monroe County for that pickup or drop-off at 340-8710 or online at www.monroecounty.gov/DES-HHW for household hazardous waste. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Two quick announcements. Penfield Trails Committee will sponsor a free public hike at Channing Philbrook Park on Saturday, April 12th at 10 a.m. Please follow the hike signs. The hike will start at the kiosk near Washington Street Bridge. Come prepared for the spring weather with sturdy waterproof footwear, which is recommended. Part of the trail will probably be slippery and wet. The hike is expected to last about 2 hours and will be led by the members of the Penfield Trails Committee. Participants should register by calling the Penfield Recreation Department at 340-8655, extension 6. Also, come visit the third annual Civil War Day at the Penfield Community Center on Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Greet and meet historians, Civil War reenactors, enthusiasts, and organizations involved in the Civil War. Attend lectures and demonstrations on the variety of topics, including Civil War plants, battles, storytelling, and genealogy with librarian Larry Nacum. The Genesee storytellers will tell folk tales listened to by children during the Civil War, and author Dennis Bielich will discuss his book, Heroes in the Attic. The Civil War program is co-sponsored by the Penfield Public Library, Friends of the Penfield Public Library, the Penfield Town Historian, Penfield Recreation Department, and the Penfield Heritage Association. No registration is required. Thank you.
I have two announcements. The Penfield Community Victory Garden bed rentals are filling up fast for the 2014 season. The garden's 3-acre plot of town-owned land is located at 1747 5 Mile Line Road, just north of Atlantic Avenue. The garden is run completely by volunteers and donations. If you're interested in more details or would like to register for a bed, please log in to www.penfieldrec.org and click on the Penfield Community Garden. And my other announcement is that my next community chat will be Tuesday, April 15th from 5:30 to 7 in the new book area at the library, if you'd like to come and talk about any issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I have two announcements before I give those announcements. The next part of our agenda is public participation. There are two opportunities to do that now and then at the end of the meeting. You can do that several ways. If you're in the auditorium tonight, you can come up to the podium and address the board on any matter. You can phone in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. The two announcements I have just prior to the meeting this evening, I had the honor and privilege of being at St. Joe's Resource Center to recognize three young men achieving their Eagle Scout and they're participating in their Court of Honor, and that's Troop 260. And Javier Perez, Brian Crowley, and Andrew Kurtzwell. And that is actually since June 1st of 2013, those three add 12 Eagle Scouts that have come out of Penfield in the last 9 months. And I know Troop 260 has a couple of more, and I know that we've got another couple that are booked in May. So in a year's time frame, we'll have more than 15 or 16 Eagle Scouts out of Penfield, which I think says a lot about not only the young men, their parents, and also their troop leaders. The second item relates to Healthy Relationships Week, and we're right in the middle of Healthy Relationships Week. And tomorrow evening, Aaron Bowe is going to be making a presentation at the Penfield High School in the auditorium entitled Equipping Your Son or Daughter for a Safe Social Life. That's from 7 to 8:30. There is plenty of seating available, and would encourage anyone interested that might have teenage children, grandchildren. It's going to be a great event tomorrow evening. So with that, we'll move into our public participation. I'll ask our clerk if anyone has signed up first, and if not, then we'll move to those that have not signed up.
Tim Murphy.
All right, thank you. Tim?
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, Town Board. Tim Murphy, 48 Corral Drive. I came here this evening with three topics to ask a couple of questions about. Firstly, the Rothfuss Park. I mean, it's near and dear to my heart. I frequent it. I was over there running this morning, and one really good thing happened recently. The flag there was getting pretty tattered, so in the last couple of days, somebody was all over it and replaced it, so thank you. But I also wanted to ask Mr. Supervisor, my wife Sue and I were looking to donate a flag. We'd like to fly it there this summer and give it to Dan when he goes downrange later in the year, and then bring it back again.
Okay.
So that would be great.
Love to have you do that.
Thank you, Tony. Second, regarding Rothfuss, there's a lot of dirt/fill on the perimeter. And it started showing up, what, a month and a half ago or so? I noticed the trucks were coming in from the north. First of all, why is there so much fill there? question?
Well, actually, as part of our Glenbrook Pond maintenance program that the board authorized, and actually we started about 2 years ago, going through checking for permits, lining up the contractors, and what have you. And so the material that is coming out of that is a silt material that is, so it's very rich. We're using that to fill in some of the low areas. And then ultimately, there is a plan as part of the overall ROFIS plan to add some additional fields. And so that will be part of that plan, maybe not for this year, but certainly for next year, getting it established, letting it catch for a year, and then making available for a couple of mini fields, a couple additional mini fields at that site.
Okay, thank you. Was the town, is it being compensated for, moving the dirt from one place to another, or is it an expense for the town?
It's part of the contract. When it came out, a certain amount of that material was going to be left at the site, built up around the edges, but not all the material that we took out was able to stay on the site. So one of the things that we looked at was the closest place to put it. We asked a couple of the local farmers, specifically Bauman's, to see if they had an interest because they were very close. And when we were not able to put anything together with some adjacent property owners, that's when we decided to bring it to ROFIS. It was just around the corner, minimal trucking associated with it, made it easy to get rid of, and it certainly is going to be a benefit for us ultimately.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. And you answered part of my question because some of it was really nasty in terms of just smell and composition. Some of it looked like it was clay and good, clean fill, but some of it was the exact opposite. And I even went over this morning to kind of check it out, but given that it was pretty cold and it's compressed,
Right.
Almost led me to think, did that need to be tested just because it was pretty odorous there for quite a while. So I had a question on where we were going with this, and I know in the master plan there's a perimeter walk
Right.
that's slated there, and maybe there's some buildup, but you know me, I'm kind of keeping an eye on things. That's kind of one of my places.
Would expect nothing less, Tim. Just for your information, the perimeter walk has been completed, so the stone has been all put in. And again, we'll be filling in the low areas with that. And we did go through the DEC as part of the process to make sure that the materials coming out were materials that we were able to spread. And so what some of the odor is that the plant life, the algae that is in the pond, as that sinks down to the bottom, that starts to rot. So you do in fact have some of that odor. And as soon as we get that spread out, that certainly will help dissipate that.
I'm intimately familiar with this from Watershed Management Committee being on there, and I can tell you, Tim, that one of the basic fundamental parts of DEC permitting is what are you going to take out and where are you going to put it and what is it? So that was certainly covered in the permitting process. It's actually quite a production if you happen to go over to that pond. It was one of our top priorities to assure those residents in there that they would have a better pond than they have now. And the amount of material coming out of that pond is unbelievable. You just can't imagine how much is coming out of there. So we're thankful that we're able to repurpose what, although may be stinky, but compost piles are stinky too. So we're able to repurpose a lot of that for a future use right within the town nearby.
Great, good answers. Thank you very much. Okay, second topic. Well, I was doing some research on the town's website, and maybe Amy, you could help with this. I noticed that town board minutes, there's none for the month of March. 5 or 6 weeks out, we haven't had the follow-up meeting.
Typically, so an example for today's meeting, it has to be in draft form within the next 2 weeks. So you have 2 weeks to do the draft.
Okay.
Then it's sent to the town board, and then once they've taken a look at it, it goes right on the agenda, and then we get to
So we're
see it
5
for
weeks
everybody.
out, and the last one was February 25th. Does that fit the timeline? It takes over a month to get them posted?
Well, you're going to have, today, we're going to hopefully approve the March minutes.
Okay, and the reason why I was getting at this is because, looking at the continuing dialogue on topics, I mean, that's one of the best places to go. And again, I'm kind of dead-ended, and, I'm looking, again, for kind of the completion of a conversation that was started. Mr. Supervisor, as part of that, I was looking at the goal-setting process, which we all have done in corporate America, and we know how arduous it is and how important it is. I noticed that a lot of departments had goals and kind of read through most of them, but I noticed the town board didn't have goals. Is that part of an opportunity maybe that you see? Could you explain just how that all works?
Sure, absolutely, Tim. I think what happens is that a number of the goals that we see from the departments are goals that are driven by the town board. So not all of them. We ask each one of the departments to come in, with their specific items, but we help identify and prioritize what some of those things are. So a good example, as Councilwoman Metzer was talking about Glenbrook Pond, that was something that was very high on our list. And so we made that very high on the town engineer's list because it would be him that would take the lead. He would go through, apply for any permits and those types of things. So a lot of our goals are reflected in department goals. So the next logical question from your end might be, is there overarching goals that the board might have, above and beyond, what the specific goals for the department are. And I think that is what I would classify, and I'll give each board member an opportunity to chat on that. But as we take a look at it, I think our goals are driven by our residents. So one thing is managing our costs. So delivering an on-time budget, a budget that's realistic, and a budget that is also a budget that gets things done, but also is very cost conscious. There is an employee component of that, or a personnel component of that that we take a look, and then again tied back to our respective departments for overall goal setting. So those are the three items that I take a look at each and every day that I'm working with our team and our staff, and then reporting back to the town board. Taking a look at those three aspects. How are we managing on budget? How is our employee and personnel component? And then how are we managing to our overall goals that the board reviews and adopts?
Good answer, Mr. Supervisor. But a little bit of a segue too,
Yep.
taking advantage of that. First of all, SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. Again, if you get more specific you get, and I know Jeff and I handed off 38 items, as part of our collection process, listening to the residents. And I know one big thing got done, that now the work sessions in particular are being broadcast. And I know I had 3 phone calls on the first night saying, hey, wow, it's on TV. So people do watch, including me. So good stuff. But again, there's other things on here without going through the list that, I was hopeful to find somewhere. And again, my perception, it's only mine, would it be great if some of these things went to town board members?
Okay. So at any time, be more than happy to, to speak to or speak about, any of those items. I mean, I recall one item that was on that list, in and around leaf pickup. And so, what I've said in the past, and what I'll say again today is that if you line up our residents. About 50% of our residents would like leaf pickup, and the other 50% of our residents don't want leaf pickup, depending upon where they are, their neighborhood, and what have you. And what I've offered several times, and I'll offer again, if there's a particular neighborhood that has an interest in leaf pickup, we'll look at a special district and work with that neighborhood. But what that requires is that pickup in that neighborhood. Any of the costs associated with that would then be directly borne by that neighborhood and not spread across the entire town. And I think that's the biggest piece that we've heard on a regular basis, as all of us have met with different residents in different neighborhoods. Some want it, some don't. But setting up a special district and having the cost, something like an intensified lighting district, the cost could be borne right there. What I will say is that there are at least a half a dozen different local landscapers that will do it, and probably do it a lot cheaper than getting government involved. They've got the equipment, they've got the places to dump. They have smaller amounts so that they fall underneath the permitting process for DEC. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, to me, that's what it's all about. And you work with those landscapers. We post them on the website, and you know, so there's the opportunity there. So those that want their leaf pickup can still get it. So whether a town does it or whether a private contractor does it, you know, it's still the responsibility of the property owner to get the leaves to the curb line, to the road. Unless you elect to pay, you know, above and beyond that. But, you know, at any time, any of those items would be more than happy to chat, you know, about them. You know, whether it's in this setting, whether it's at a work session, or whether it's, you know, in a meeting one-on-one, always willing to chat about those items.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Absolutely.
Take you up on the offer. And I had a big miss today, actually. We had a meeting with our leadership team in the Penfield School District. And I had promised to invite you, and when I was sitting reviewing the action items, I reminded myself that there was someone missing. And it's very premature to talk about it, but that was one of the items on our list, probably for me, the highest item. You know, we're the largest employer in town. And again, details to follow, but Dr. Grimm and his leadership team were outstanding. You know, they got a tour of our facility. There's a lot of people like me with white hair and, you know, kind of baby boomers and looking forward to the next chapter in our life. And it would be really unfortunate if we didn't find a way to shape the curriculum and maybe develop some kind of pipeline of young people that are on a trajectory to go to college to come work at a company like ours. So those are the kind of things that, you know, in the future, again, you folks could help, especially politicians talking to politicians, you know, getting money. I know we've talked to Senator O'Brien, but there's a lot of money going to RIT and U of R for those entrepreneur centers, incubation, but we need money to train our young people to come and work at places like ours.
I look forward to that next meeting, and more importantly, to the invite.
Okay, Tony. So the third topic, and probably the one that, you know, really brought me here mostly tonight, you know, later in your agenda, you're going to talk about, you know, the contract for mowing services. And I got a lot of our attention because similarly, earlier in the year, the snow plowing contract came up. And I think a number of us were kind of paying attention, and we still are, and we just want to do the right thing and absolutely see the need to save money and find new ways to do things. But honestly, when I was looking through the notes, you know, and I read the dialogue that Ronnie Williams had with you folks and some of his recommendations, but I didn't see the follow-on to that and how we got to where we are with the resolution. And even last time, it wasn't so much what we were doing, but how we were doing it. You know, the RFP, the request for proposals, was worded one way, but the resolution came out something different. I don't want that to happen this time either. So, you know, I was looking for some kind of business case or compilation of the numbers. For example, there were 7 bidders. Ronnie Williams recommended that 2 contractors be selected. From what I understand, only 1 has been selected. And again, how we got to that point, to that decision. If I missed it in the work session, I'm sorry, and if you have to play it back, that'd be great. But again, show me the numbers, show me the math is kind of the, you know, I'm always challenged to do. So kind of that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. Last time, again, you know, we had a little different set of circumstances. And again, we see the need for it, but again, could you share with me how you got to the point of the resolution tonight? And in particular, Mr. Supervisor, could you start with what is the total value of the contract? Because I saw numbers that said one thing, and it appears, you know, the number of trips, 30 times the per trip cost, the numbers just didn't add up. So let me just stop there, and could you help me understand?
Absolutely, Tim. So as we took a look at it, and we went out for quotes, we did receive 7 quotes in. And as we took a look at it, we broke it up into several components. There was one, the weekly mowing, and the weekly mowing would be around the town hall, sports fields, community center, those types of things. So that would include ROFIS and the like. And the second piece was the biweekly mowing and some of the annual mowing that ends up being done. And that is around, some of our many drainage facilities that we have. We've got about 117, I think, last count. And there's a number of those that we do mow, depending upon where they are. And then we have some annual mowing, what is called wander mowing. So a good example of that is at Sherwood Fields. So as part of Sherwood Fields, the recommendation from the consultant EDR had indicated that there should be wander mowing of a third of that property on an annual basis. So every 3 years, you'd go through and you would have cut it at least once. So you cut a third this year, a third next year, and a third the following year. That would establish a park that was more closely aligned to folks wanting to come in, do some birding, butterflies, and some things like that. So as we took a look at it, and we took a look at the number of trips that we did in 2013, I believe the number was 23 trips that we had. So
27, I think, was the number.
27. I think that might be right, 27. And so when we put it together as a 20 trip, and we put it together as a 30 trip. But the way it worked out was that the per trip cost was pretty much the same, or was the same, whether it was a 20 trip or a 30 trip. And so as the board took a look at this and had conversations about this, one of the things that we said is that we'll take a step at a time. We'll go through and we'll look at the biweekly and the annual, or some of the wander mowing, and we will try that. We've got a piece of equipment. We've got a $100,000 piece of equipment that we're kind of holding together. We're going to use it just on the athletic fields and not on any of the other biweekly to help preserve that. But there was a consideration for a $100,000 piece of equipment. There was a consideration for the labor cost and bringing in some number of labor associated with that. And one of the things that the board had talked about was do we look at bringing in regular full-time, which is fully burdened, as you're well aware. So you got your wage, you got your benefits, you got your retirement component, and or do we look
Mr.
at
Supervisor, what is the burden rate for a town worker?
about 60%?
60%, and if you benchmark that with the corporate America, which is 30 to 35%.
Absolutely
That's
right.
part of the story.
Absolutely, that's part of that story.
Okay,
and
so-
like you, being in corporate America and spending near 30 years in corporate America, we were always after the GSA, the general, the sales, and the administration. And I know at my days at Kodak, that was where the pressure was because that's where your cost savings were overall. So as we took a look at having some folks that were going to be retiring. We had some folks that moved to other jobs. We needed to fill that a little bit differently. So what we agreed that we would do is take our regular force and let them manage some seasonal or summer folks, and then contract out the biweekly in those areas that are a little bit more harder on equipment, and contract that component out rather than staffing that up
What's
to
the
do it
head count,
in-house.
Mr. Supervisor, that will shift associated with that conversation? What's the number of people that'll shift responsibilities?
Well, we've got one that has moved into the sewer component, so that person has come out of that operation overall. And so what we're doing, and then we had one person that had retired out. So essentially, what we're doing is through a combination of some seasonal and some contract. We're bridging that gap rather than looking to hire a couple of additional full-time bodies. The other component that I think that we continue to wrestle with is that we have some people that like to cut grass, but I can't afford to pay folks $24 an hour to cut grass plus benefits. So we have to balance that out a little bit, and we have to increase some of their duties and responsibilities and take some of that lower cost or other costs and shift that either to a combination of seasonal and also contract. So that's what we're looking to do as part of this component.
Also, a couple other components to it as well are factors in that we've got some very talented staff people. And to be able to free up some of those staff people from mowing lawns to landscaping, beautifying, maintaining some of our park areas, trails, things like that, that's a benefit as well. Another realistic factor that kind of goes across all departments is the Affordable Care Act. Municipalities now are faced with complying with the Affordable Care Act, as you know. And by having the Affordable Care Act in place, the potential, frankly, for more seasonal workers to qualify for full benefits has increased. So that's a consideration from a monetary standpoint, that you could have someone come in as a seasonal employee where before they were straight seasonal employees. Now the Affordable Care Act can, by its formula, put them into benefits. And we have to look at that from the bottom line. I think you would agree with that, would you not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, good, thoughtful answers. The total value, though, of this contract is how much?
Well, again, it depends upon the number of cuttings that
Up to
we
30,
end up having.
correct?
So we have for our biweekly, and for our biweekly, and we've got it set up on a 10 trip and then 2 pass per season for some of those wander mowings that we have overall. The total trip cost is $15,400, and that would be 10 trips plus 2 wander mows. And then we also had a quote for and again, it's the same per trip, but if we did it for 15 trips, if we had one of those seasons where it just kept growing and it needed to be cut or knocked down, it could go as high as $21,850.
So that would
So
be,
the range is $15,400 to $21,850.
and as a percentage of the green space, the park space, how much of it will the contract serve as a percentage approximately?
I think the way it ended up being broken out, if you take a look at what I'll call the lawn mowing, field mowing, that's about 60%, Tim, and roughly 40% for what I'll call ponds, general areas, and those parks that require the annual or twice a year. So it's not the Rothfuss Park that's considered part of the lawn contract, and that lawn component will be done by the employees, with the assistance of some seasonal workers. We're going to have some college students. I mean, that's typically what we do is we bring in, we hire round numbers about 50 college students, round numbers 42 to 45 end up in recreation, and the rest typically within the DPW.
Good answer. Mr. Supervisor, could you project, high end, low end, the savings by going in this direction?
Well, the opportunity of 2 full-time bodies, I mean, that's a component that we'd have to take a look at. I mean, you're not going to bring in 2 people, anything less than probably $10,000 or $12,000 on an annual basis, plus your benefit rate. So if we take a look at what we're looking to contract out, we're trying to balance that out. And it's a one-year contract. I mean, this is not a multiple year. We didn't ask for a multiple year. It's a one-year contract. One of the things that I heard loud and clear from the board is that, we need to take a look at this, evaluate it, make sure that we're doing the right thing, make sure the savings are there, as compared to what it's been costing us, again, for folks at a $23 or $24 an hour rate to cut grass. And again, I think Councilwoman Metzler hit the nail on the head when she said, we've got some talented people. We've got one individual that would spend a lot of time on the mower, who's now working with our big $750,000 vac truck, cleaning sanitary and storm sewers and making repairs and televising and what have you. He certainly has got a lot more potential growth opportunity and rewarding position than, riding a lawnmower for 8 hours a day, and in many cases, 3 or 4 days a week.
Okay, again,
Take a look at the work session. I believe we do refer to this, at least, I think collectively, as a pilot project, if that helps, as far as when the supervisor mentioned it being a one-year contract. We've really looked at this in terms of a pilot project. We owe that to our residents to seek out this cost savings.
great, yep, that's the way I would hope you'd look at it. But guess, in the spirit of continuous improvement, it would have been great to see a package out there that included the request for proposal, which I couldn't find again on the town's website under docs.rfp. It was not out there. And then, again, kind of a compilation of all of the numbers and maybe the assumptions that were put in there. Again, you folks know them, but we don't. And, to get comfortable with it, there are some folks like ours that are looking at these kind of things, and it definitely supports your position, but also opens up conversation when you don't have it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I look forward to the flag.
Me too, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Mike and Rose Hanscom.
Signed you up before you got here, Rose. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Rose Hanscom, and
Michael Hanscom.
we live at 145 Any Trail Drive. I just want to say on a positive note, when you folks were at my son's Eagle ceremony 4 years ago, and when he was 14, now that he's 18, that has continued in terms of success, because now he's one of 20 high school seniors from across the nation who's been selected for early admission for a doctorate program at Upstate Medical University. So another Penfield resident, I'm so proud of him. And I just have to share the news.
Not going very far.
Huh?
It's not that far away.
No, that's really kind of nice. So all very
Well,
good, all very good.
Congratulations. Congratulations to him. Certainly
Yeah.
congratulations to yourself.
Well, thank you. We're really proud of him. We're here about Baytown. And we watched the video recordings on the March 2014 meetings, both from the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. And it was all in regard to the Baytown Plaza redevelopment site plans. And we now realize that there are 4 significant issues, and we had emailed you, Tony, about 2 of them, I believe. But we'd like to bring up 4 issues that we feel that we would like some answers to. If you could, please help us. We're appealing to you because, first off, we weren't able to attend the public hearings on either of those meetings. We did send our comments through, but we weren't able to attend those meetings. And so we're concerned about some of the issues that were raised at these meetings, and we're hoping for your help as our representatives. Yeah.
We're also trying to bring these to the board's attention because the town board was involved in the rezoning for the Baytown Plaza.
Right.
And some of the issues that we're going to talk about relate to the conditions of approval for the rezoning. And even though it's the planning board's responsibility to make sure that the site plan meets the town's requirements, the zoning requirements and planning and design requirements, we feel it's the town board's responsibility to help make sure that the development meets the conditions of approval for the rezoning, since that was your responsibility.
Okay, so the first issue is in terms of the size of the store. It was brought up by the applicant for the DeMarco Group that this Super Walmart being built is the biggest one in Monroe County. And the newest store in the county, which is in Greece, is only 155,000. They're proposing 86,000 square foot. So approximately 30,000 more square feet for this particular store. And we're concerned about that because it is so close to residential properties. It's not out in the open like Macedon stores, or it's not in a big commercial district like Greece or like Henrietta. And so we know that and maybe this is an assumption, but we believe that this was rezoned for this store to help with the economics of our town. Maybe it increased tax base. Maybe there was something financial involved to help all of the town as a community. But do we need a store that large in our community to help us financially, given its proximity to the 3 residential communities? I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Do we need such a big store in our town to help with taxes, to help with costs, to help with our economics for our town?
So when the town board did the rezoning, I think that store, that 180, it's been a while, so I apologize. I'm not going to have the numbers right off the top of my head, but I wanted to say it's about 182,000 square feet, 182,000.
In the rezoning application, let's see, in the beginning of the DEIS process by the planning board, they listed it as 176,000 square feet. Then when it made it through that process and came to the town board for the rezoning, they listed it as 180,000 square feet.
180, okay.
So it's continued to grow somewhat in size.
And now it's 186.
Okay.
It's 186.
So your question is that really necessary,
Yeah,
size-wise?
yeah. Is that important for our town? We know that we want to look at our town as a whole, not just our particular community that we live in, but the town as a whole. Do we need a store that big in our community? It's the question. I don't know. If we do, then we do. You guys know. You know the money. I don't know the money. But do we? Does anybody know? For cost effectiveness for our town, do we need a store that big, being the biggest in Monroe County, given its location? Do we need the biggest Super Walmart to be located in Penfield, New York, to help Penfield? Do you have an answer?
I mean, I don't have an answer. I mean, the difference, so if the question is, Rose, the difference between 176 and 186, what is the difference in taxes that might be collected for the town or the school? I'm not going to be able to tell you that right off the top of my head. I would tend to say that incrementally, it's a small amount going from 176 to 186. I would say that it's a small amount, but I don't have that right off the top of my head. I'd have to spend a little time with our assessor to get a sense of what that might look like.
Yeah, because if in Greece they were able to build this is the newest store. They said this is not me talking. These are the representatives that came at these hearings. It's in the record that the newest store built recently was in Greece. I don't think it was that too far long ago, maybe a couple of years now.
2 years ago.
It's 155. I don't know. It just kind of boggles my mind that we're putting this 186,000 square foot store in this little area where it's way far back. It's not even in a real commercial district, in our opinion, because we knew it as residential. It just seems really big. I mean, I would think even Walmart could do with 155, but that's the first point. Okay, we'll go on to the second point.
Okay. One of the other reasons I think that we bring up the size of the store is that it also, the larger it gets, the more difficult it makes for the developer to mitigate the impacts that the store has on the surrounding area and to meet the conditions of approval that the board placed for the rezoning. Which brings me to one of my next topics. One of the impacts that the surrounding residents was the most concerned about for the store was mitigation of the noise that will be produced by the store with all the deliveries by trucks and just the traffic coming in and out. And one of the things that we were surprised to hear at both of these meetings, both the Planning Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals, was that the applicant's representative stated that the proposed concrete wall to be located on the top of the proposed berm has no noise components. They indicated...
I'm sorry, Michael, it has no noise?
No noise components. They indicated
noise
that
components, good.
it's not intended as a noise barrier. They indicated that the walls and the berm are only being constructed as a decorative barrier to light pollution and to block the visual line of sight of the new Super Walmart building from the surrounding houses. Without being there to ask them the questions, we can only interpret this to mean that the walls have therefore not been designed to act as noise barriers to reduce the noise from the redeveloped Baytown Plaza. We therefore believe that the applicant's not living up to the statements that they made during the environmental impact process and during the rezoning process, where they said that the berm and walls would be constructed so that the noise from the new redeveloped plaza will be no greater than the existing Baytown Plaza. We'd like to note that on page 3 of the May 15th, 2012 rezoning conditions of approval, it states the following.
That's the town board's zoning
That's town board,
conditions of
yes.
approval?
The following is a quote. Noise was identified as a potential adverse impact early in the process and received the most public input. The applicant provided a noise study in the draft environmental impact statement. That noise study was reviewed by the planning board's consultant, Stantec, and additional input was provided by the applicant as requested by the planning board. Part of the noise mitigation offered by the applicant includes, paragraph B, was creation of a large earthen berm of varying height, topped with an 8-foot decorative concrete barrier, which at its maximum height will be taller than any proposed new structure or light fixture. Now, indeed, in the plans that they put forth, they do have an earthen berm and they do have a concrete wall proposed. That is that height, at least on the eastern and southern sides of the new store. But they pretty much stated, for all intents and purposes, at both meetings that their primary proposed mitigation method of constructing the berm and the 8-foot concrete wall are now not intended as noise mitigation features, which puzzles us because the New York State DOT for many years has used precast concrete walls and columns along 490, 104, various highways across the state to act as noise mitigation features. So we would hope that the planning board and the town board would work with the developer to ensure that the walls that they're putting up are designed as noise barriers. Because if they're not designing them, then what noise mitigation features are they proposing to do? Because in reviewing the noise study, these items were used as part of their noise study to show that they were able to mitigate the noise. One of the other things that we noticed as part of reviewing the proposed plans, they have moved the store further away from the Jewelberry community, and they've moved it actually further away from the Guy Grace community. They've moved it a little further north towards, what's that road again?
Brant Point.
Towards Brant Point and Seabury. So they have a 439-foot land buffer from Jewelberry and a 420-foot land buffer from Guy Grace. But the residential area to the north of the proposed development seems to be somewhat ignored compared to these other two communities.
Yeah, can I interrupt?
Sure.
They had diagrams during the planning board presentation. They were really very good at showing the buffers from Jewelberry and showing the buffers from Guy Grace. But there was nothing indicating the similar kind of buffers to the north, to that community. And I got to wonder why. I mean, I don't understand why these people up north, the Grant Point and the Seabury community, well, they weren't even addressed in terms of land buffers. It was so evident on this picture that the communities of Guy Grace and the communities of Jewelberry, that they were proud of their land buffers. Maybe it's part of their noise mitigation. Maybe that's how they think that they're going to. But to those of us who lived north, there's nothing. In
Right, so-
fact, the wall and the berm are even shorter at that end.
Right, as the berm and the wall move from the eastern side of the property and then curve around toward the northern side of the property, they drop about 10 to 15 feet in height. Based on the store position, I can see where it's difficult for them to make the berm higher unless they put the retaining walls on either side of the berm. But one thing they could do is possibly make the concrete wall that they propose to do higher in the center of the berm. The walls, as you drive along 490, 104, those walls are oftentimes 15, 20 feet in height versus a simple 8-foot high wall that they have. So we're hoping maybe that's a possibility they could look at, use similar type noise barriers.
And we're hoping that we love our neighbors in Jewelberry and the neighbors of Guy Grace. And I want everything for them, please understand. But I want the similar kind of respect given to my neighbors to the north and Seabury. And that's all we're asking for is similar consideration for buffers, whether it be land buffers, noise buffers, whatever, that it be the same. I would really like to say to my neighbors, guys, you're as important to Penfield as our neighbors at Jewelberry and Guy Grace. And they're feeling that maybe their affluence or their lack of may be the issue. And I know that's not the case. I know you're here for all of us, but that's kind of what they're saying. And I appreciate Guy Grace and Jewelberry. I just want Seabury protected as well. And Grant Point, all the people that live in the apartments.
Excuse me, Rose,
Yeah.
real quick question for you. Was there vegetation buffer in that area to the north?
There were
was there
trees. There were
plantings and trees and stuff like that? So it's just the wall that really you're talking about?
And the land buffers. The
Yeah,
land
okay.
buffers are not the same amount of space, land buffers, not the 439 and not the 420.
Right, okay.
I don't even know. They didn't even identify how much space. They didn't identify.
But you could tell that it was significantly.
Yeah, it was,
If it was, I assume to scale.
yeah, yeah. It was just nothing.
Okay.
Okay, so on to the next topic. One of the other conditions of approval that it appears that the developer is going to have a difficult time, or if not impossible time meeting, is constructing the access road through the Sovereign Drive properties. When we were, according to the presentation at the meeting, the applicant has not yet obtained an easement from the owner of the Sovereign properties to construct an access road from Sovereign Drive to Baytown Plaza. This information was stated at both meetings by an attorney for a business that currently lies along Sovereign Drive. In fact, this business is currently actively opposed to this easement being granted, since it will cut his operations into two pieces. It's the storage facility that's there.
Uncle Bob's.
Uncle Bob's. On one side, he has the storage buildings. On the other side, he has his offices. So he has clients that park along that road, in order to access both places, and they have to cross from his offices over to the storage buildings. We'd just like to point out that we brought this issue up as a possible problem during the environmental impact statement process, and during that time it was never really adequately addressed by the applicant or the town. We brought it up in a letter back in 2009, just asking whether they had obtained an easement or a letter of intent from the property owner, and nobody was able to verify that at that time. Let's see. We would also like to note that during the environmental impact process, there was comments made by the town's consultant, Stantec, in the review of the applicant's traffic mitigation measures in a February 24th, 2009 letter to the planning board. This information is given on page 3.4-42 of the September 2009 DEIS, and it states, this is a quote from that letter. The town of Penfield has obtained an easement that would allow Baytown Plaza access to Sovereign Drive, which leads to Creek Street further south of Empire Boulevard. But it appeared to be apparent by the statements given by the attorney for that Uncle Bob's business on Sovereign Drive that the town has not obtained this easement. Do you know, does the town actually have that easement or not?
Without, right off the top of my head, I don't, Michael. I mean, I'd have to do some, some digging and take a look, but I can't tell you either yes or no right at this point. I can find that out and feed that information back.
Okay, because that's one of the size of the store has an impact on the need for that easement, because the larger the store, the more traffic is going to be created, bringing it into Baytown Plaza.
I can't remember, and again, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Was that a condition of approval
Yes.
for you all, from you all, to get that easement from Sovereign Drive? Do you remember? I know I say no. As we don't know, you may know.
Yeah, I was just going to
Because we know
say,
this like that.
I'd have to go back and,
Okay.
it's a,
Could have been a sub-condition in terms of being able to have that,
The light.
the access, the traffic
Right,
improvements.
I-
So not necessarily a specific condition, but it could be kind of a condition precedent to obtain, to satisfying another condition.
Get it?
Yeah, I believe it was a condition in some manner, because it was definitely part of the fire, it was definitely part of the final environmental impact statement published by the planning board as a mitigation measure for traffic in that area.
Yeah, now that I read my notes here, I guess it does say here. So we've read through this stuff over and over again, and we forget too, so I truly understand. I mean, we read this like it's our bedtime reading. Because all of this affects our lives so seriously and affects our community so seriously. And so we take this seriously, and I'm sorry we haven't been to you all or to the planning board in some time, but
now these questions tonight, comments, Rose, Michael, have you shared those with the planning board at this point? Are they aware of this dialogue or the sense of this dialogue on these particular items that we've spoken about so far?
we have sent, not this particular letter, not this particular version.
Okay.
They have gotten, that we have sent comments about it.
Okay.
Like we mentioned some of these, maybe we'll send this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly encourage you to do that. One of the other things that I will do and that our friends in PC TV can do is they can go in and they can clip this portion of the meeting from when you first came up here until you finish. And they can clip that and they can send that to the planning board members. So that, and I'll ask Dave Renner and his team to do that to the planning board and then to the staff, our friend, Mr. Valentine, and Katie Evans has since left the town to pursue some other interests. But we have Zach that has been helping to pick up the ball with that, in addition to Mark Valentine. So we'll clip that out, we'll clip this segment out, and we'll attach it to an email and get that forwarded out.
Okay.
So
We did send them an email regarding the noise barriers and the Sovereign Drive issue.
Okay, all right.
But my concern with that is similar to the fact that in 2009, we brought up the Sovereign Drive and it wasn't addressed. Things get missed. You know, when you read volumes of rewritten a lot of stuff to you all, it's hard to read it all. I mean, sometimes you just want to tune us out because, of them again. But or maybe it's just, too much information. It was a huge project. I don't know. But things get missed. So sometimes we feel like the only way we get heard sometimes is coming here or in a public hearing, and we weren't able to go. So we feel like this is our opportunity, and I appreciate you clipping it and giving it to
I mean,
whoever
that's
you-
that way they see it, that way they see it,
Right.
Your actual words versus, paraphrasing your words.
Right.
So,
But we do have it down here, and it says that the town board did make this a condition of approval for our Sarvin Drive easement. If they can't get that easement, or if they don't meet any of the conditions of approval, what happens?
well, I mean, the easy answer to that is that, then if they can't meet the conditions of approval, then they can't move forward. They have to do one of two things. They have to, meet the conditions, or not. And if not, they either have to decide they're not going to build, or their other option is they certainly can come back and ask for relief. That's another option. But the expectation when you put the resolutions together is that and the lengthy conditions that we had. I mean,
Yeah.
that particular resolution from this board was probably the most lengthy resolution by way of specifics and conditions. And that's part of that rezoning. They can't meet those, then the properties can't be developed if they can't do that.
Okay. Okay, I guess it's my turn now, huh?
Are you going to do the last one?
There's one more. One more, and I know it's been a long night, so thank you for your patience
Not a
with us. I
problem.
really appreciate it. Mr. DeMarco stated that the March 2014 Planning Board meeting, that there will need to be 2 different property maintenance agreements. One with the current Baytown and that little street of shops, and one with Walmart. So I want to be sure that, in fact, 2 property maintenance agreements are going to be enacted. Because if you don't make one with the Walmart property, it won't make a difference. They won't honor it. They won't honor the one that you have with Baytown. So you have to make it with the two entities. And we also want to remind Tony here that you had mentioned to me August 1st, 2013, I had wrote you saying that the vacuum truck was running at 7 in the morning. Do you remember?
I do.
And you said that you had a conversation with Mr. DeMarco and that he agreed not to run that vacuum truck on Sundays until 8 or 8:30.
Right.
And that you were hoping that was going to be part of the property maintenance agreement once this came through. So I'm asking that hopefully becomes a part of both property maintenance agreements, that they don't run that until 8 or 8:30, between, you said 8 and 8:30, whatever, on a Sunday morning.
And I'm assuming that hasn't been a problem since we had that dialogue?
No,
or was that?
they've been great.
Okay.
They've been-
So that's good.
It was a
I'm
miracle.
glad to hear that,
Yeah.
I mean, that they, upheld what they said they were going to do, so.
So are
Good.
we, and
Okay.
we really thank you for taking that extra effort and contacting Mr. DeMarco and helping us with that problem. Okay, let's see. The other concern we have is with truck deliveries. They said at the meeting that the store was going to be a 24-hour store and that truck deliveries would be anytime, day or night. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with the truck deliveries if it didn't have those backup warning signals. And honestly, we heard them the whole time they were at Baytown, clearing that property for the street of shops. And that was during the day, and they weren't constructing at night, because there's limits to when they can do construction at night. But now these truck deliveries are coming in, and it's a 6-bay truck delivery, isn't it?
Yes.
3 on each end. So we're talking about 6-bay truck delivery, possibly coming in the middle of the night, hearing these backup beep beep sounds. I mean, just shoot me already. I mean, if I have to hear that, just shoot me. I just really, seriously, it's going to be awful. And I just wish that we could limit the truck deliveries. If we can't limit the time the store is open, can we limit truck deliveries as part of the noise mitigation or whatever? I don't know. I don't know if that's unreasonable to ask. Personally, I don't know why we need a 24-hour store, but that would be a great compromise if at least they didn't have to hear the truck delivery beep beep noises. Okay. Anything else, sir?
No, I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
You guys are.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
Anytime.
listening to us.
Very good points, thank you.
We'll,
Would you like me to add
we'll,
those to the minutes?
You want this? Yeah, you can. Yeah. And
As an additional to what I write.
we still have, I should end with my good thought here, the last sentence. I want to say this. We have hope that you all will act as our representatives and work for all of us in Penfield. And we do believe that you will help us in some way, shape, or form. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Rose. Michael, thank you. We'll video clip this and get it to the planning board and to staff over the next, well, knowing Dave Renner, he'll have that done like tomorrow morning, but over the next couple of days. I won't promise something that, I won't make a promise for Dave, but knowing Dave, that's how that'll work. So we'll get that over to the staff so that they have it, as well as the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Congratulations again on your son's accomplishment.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Hey. Anyone else to sign up? So, is there anyone in the audience? I see one of our two county legislators, Dr. Dan Quattro, representing the 15th LD in Penfield. Always a pleasure to see you, and what's new and exciting at the county?
Geez. Boy, that's a loaded question, Supervisor. First of all, my name is Dan Quattro. I reside at 488 Plank Road in Webster, New York, which happens to be in the town of Penfield. And as you mentioned, I am a Monroe County legislator from the 15th Legislative District. What's really on our minds at the county level today, particularly, is the passage of the state budget. While we're glad that it's on time, for a number of reasons, mechanically in particular, as the state budget gets passed, it's not the end of the story for us. At the county level government, that budget has to be taken apart. It has to be filtered down through the various departments and so on and so forth, and then the details end up for us later in the year as we are going through our budget process. So the earlier it gets passed, the better it is for us and the easier it is for us to plan. So kudos to the state government for, again, passing it on time. That makes life easier for us. The thing that doesn't make it easier for us at the state level is that while there was some lip service, I believe, paid by the governor to property tax relief, I believe upstate residents are going to get $250 back and downstate some $500 and some odd dollars back. I don't know where the line is delineated between upstate and downstate in the budget, but no attention was paid to mandate relief, which is really what crushes us at the county level. And at the town level as well. We have mandated expenses and we have a limited capacity to tax for a number of reasons. We don't think that taxation, raising property tax is a solution to the problem. We think that restraining spending at the state level is the answer to the problem, or at least giving us local control of those services so that we're allowed to innovate here at this level. I think that there's some great minds in this community. Obviously, we've seen that. It's been proven over and over again in this community, and if we could put those minds to work at solving the issues or providing the services that the state wants instead of having to provide them the way that they want us to provide them, I think that we could do a greater service, not just to the people that receive the services, but also to the taxpayers of this community. So I was disheartened to see that the state budget once again doesn't address the issue of mandate relief. So my pledge to you is the details become obvious. The devil is always in the details. That as the county legislator to a portion of Penfield, that I'll work diligently with you folks to make sure that we, as we have in the past, manage our responsibilities well, with always the taxpayer in mind first, and then also the quality of life in the great town of Penfield. One thing I'd like to talk about on a more positive note is that, as you may be aware, there's been an 18-month pilot project that GROC has been doing in our parks. That would be Greater Rochester Off-Road Cyclists. And this was a beautiful collaboration, one that was near and dear to my heart, the GROC group and the county, where the GROC folks came into a couple of parks in our area on the east side of the community, Tryon Park and
Park West.
Bay Park West, and developed the trails in there, made them sustainable, made them multi-use, And that project has been through a few seasons. The reason that it was 18 months long and was extended actually was so that these trails and their use and development could be complete and we could go through a couple of muddy seasons. And that project has been complete, and the pilot project was a huge success. First and foremost, because the people that came from the GRAC group and volunteered to help develop these sustainable trails did an excellent job in developing them, used all of the latest science to make sure that there wasn't erosion issues and so on and so forth, but also because the other people that are using the trails, they are multi-use trails, haven't been impacted by the cyclists in the park. And more specifically for me, Bay Park West was a dump, quite literally. There was garbage all over the place. And because of the volunteer efforts from the people at GRAC, that park has been renewed. And I've hiked through that park an awful lot. It's absolutely lovely. So this is a perfect example of innovation, of public-private partnership, and it cost the taxpayers $0. So I'm happy that that project is over and that has been a success. I knew that it would be, and I hope that GRAC's influence in our park system, quite frankly, increases, because it's been great for our park system. And I think it's a perfect example, and I was glad to hear you talking about how you were innovating when you were questioned about it with regards to services that you're providing in your town, looking at ways to innovate, looking at ways to do things better, particularly in this instance with the way that you're going to cut lawns, using a pilot project in that sense to see if there's a way that we can more responsibly use taxpayer dollars and get the job done while we're taking these other employees and using them in more responsible ways. And I think that the pilot project, at least with GRAC, turned out to be a perfect way to do that. And I commend you on your innovation and your willingness to do that, to look outside the box, to take your experience, Mr. Supervisor, from corporate America and make sure that you're putting it to use for the taxpayers in the community. So I'd like to commend you on that. I wish that we had more opportunity to do that at the county level. And, as I mentioned, with regards to these trails, sustainability is a big issue for me. Maybe a lot of times people don't put these two ideas together, one of a conservationist or someone that is so interested in sustainability and that we're using our natural resources appropriately, and the Republican conservative ideals that I bring to government and to my life. But I do spend a lot of time outside, as you know, on trails and on my bike, so sustainability is important to me. And you had an event in the community that I was unable to attend, this Green Drinks initiative or event that you had, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about it and help me to understand how that's working with your sustainability issues here in the town.
Actually, I'm going to bow to Deputy Supervisor. She pinch hit for me at that event, and would like to give her an opportunity maybe to just make a few comments, and then I want to just talk about green drinks in general after that. But I think it's appropriate that maybe Deputy Supervisor comment on that event.
I did not have to have my arm twisted to go to the Green Drinks event. It was very well attended. The town of Penfield was happy to host it appropriately in our Harris Whalen Park Lodge, which, as you know, was recently renovated by our staff, and most recently now has solar panels on that not only will help from an energy and cost saving standpoint, but is conveniently located right next to the Harris Hill Elementary School, and we can partner with the school district now and enable students to come over and learn about solar energy hands-on, see how it works, see the meter going, use their math skills to figure out how much is being saved, how much might be going back to the grid. It was a very well-attended event. I was pleased to see how many Penfield residents were there. I also, we were very fortunate to have several staff members, town staff, take the time after hours to not only set up, but help me host, help me kind of work the room and talk to folks about efforts within the town of Penfield for sustainability and our efforts with involving residents with respect to sustainability. Bob Knauer was there to talk about the solar energy system there, the solar panels. Of course, that's his expertise. And we now have him sitting on our planning board. He was on the conservation board, and we felt that it was very important to have his presence on the planning board with respect to his expertise in that area. So he was there to talk to folks. As well, Mark Valentine was there with a presentation area set up on the mixed-use development initiatives and exploration that we're doing right now. I kind of hung out with him a little bit, talked to some folks about what that was all about in the different areas and the opportunities for recreation outdoors in those areas, and providing folks with a place to go and have some family enjoyment amidst a real progressive type of development. I was very pleased with the enthusiasm of Penfield residents towards the mixed-use development, but also enthusiasm of the residents towards the process that we're using. Residents sitting on committees and subcommittees to provide input, stakeholders in those areas, as well as those with particular expertise. So we had some really good conversations, and I got some good input to take back from residents as well. So we did have lots of different types of folks, those with businesses who are working towards sustainability, some with businesses that maybe just wanted to look to save cost savings, networking. It was a great opportunity to network. I was able to talk to a couple folks actually about some jobs in county government that I was aware of, regarding folks who like to work outside or folks who want to work in the environmental services. I was able to talk to them about that, so that we had some job seekers as well. We hosted some food, and Supervisor LaFountain was kind enough to provide the drinks. They weren't green. I don't think I had coffee. It definitely wasn't green. But we had a really nice event, and I came back to the board and said, we're going to go to more. We're probably going to fight over who's going to go to the future ones, as they are around the community. But I certainly envision the town of Penfield once again stepping up and hosting green drinks again.
Thank you.
My just added closing comments on that is that Green Drinks now has been around maybe 3.5, 4 years. This is our second time we've hosted it. We're the only municipality in Monroe County to have hosted it. And as president of the Supervisors Association this year, I'm encouraging other communities to do the same thing, because I believe that there is a lot more good news stories that are going on. You know, when we started digging here in Penfield, and when I first became supervisor, the thing I wanted to do was to kick off our Energy and Environmental Advisory Committee. And I tell the story that when I brought it to the board, they kind of looked at me and they said, "What? You know, what does all that mean?" And I said, "I'm not 100% sure, other than you know, if we get some good folks together and we start talking about some of these things, we can accomplish some things." So, you know, we put the electric car charging stations first in the county to have those in, and they're being actively used. A solar-powered pump station that actually creates more power than it uses, and we use that to offset the electric car charging stations. The solar panels on Harris William Park. We've tried to scale it and scale up, you know, doing pilots and, you know, learning from that and then building on that and looking for ways, you know, to continue to grow and expand that. So the next thing you'll see is on Scribner Road, there will be the installation of 2 solar-powered crosswalks that will be at Scribner Road School and at Plank Road School, and that will help you know, light up those crosswalks, and can be activated by students, parents, and things like that. But it's part of that whole effort, I think, of you know, the sustainability piece, and you know, what can we do, you know, to help make our community a little bit more sustainable.
Yeah, I remember being in attendance when we cut the ribbon on the first electric car charging station over at the library, and I was proud of the town of Penfield at being at the forefront of that. I would also say that you know, I'm not a spring chicken in government anymore. Certainly I don't have your breadth of experience and years. You've had a lot more time on the Hill than I have, and
Don't let the old hair fool you.
I won't. Mine's getting there. If you came a little bit closer, you'd notice on the sides. But it's really nice tonight to see that there's this spirit of collaboration, you know, and I think that the hardest part about government for me has been the level of contention that there has been at the county level, particularly lately. And to see that, that you guys are so open and willing to hear hard questions and to bring answers really makes me feel happy and gives me hope for local government. I know that the pressure is on local governments to disappear, particularly from the state level. It's one way to centralize power is to put pressure on local governments so that they eventually go away, so they can no longer afford to exist. And I would hate to see that at the town level. But this level of cooperation and collaboration and transparency and openness is refreshing for me as a legislator. And I just want to thank you and commend you for the job that you're doing. I know that it's often thankless. You know, I've been involved in the Baytown debate forever because it's been in my district, and it's a project that's near and dear to me. My office is near there, and I've had lots of patients tell me that the place looks better and that they're glad that something's happening there. But I'm also glad that people are still bringing their concerns. Certainly beeping trucks and noise issues are stuff that we need to hear about and we need to be aware of and do things about. And I'm absolutely confident that you guys are going to do the right thing. And I want to thank you for that, not just as a legislator from Monroe County, but as a business owner and resident in the town of Penfield. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. Dan Quattro, representing the 15th District. Dr. Dan Quattro, 15th District. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address the board? Is that Joe? Joe Brennan, Mr. Trails, and Mr. Quality Improvement. And a few other things that Mr. Scout leader and things. So he's the reason why there's certainly a number of Eagle Scouts being produced, or he's a piece of that number of Eagle Scouts being produced. So.
Yeah, I'm Joe Brennan, resident of Penfield, 1935 Penfield Road. And I bring a couple issues to you tonight. One, you might notice that our senior scout, Mr. Linskog, is not here, has not been. He's fairly ill. So keep him in your prayers. We're trying to pull it out, and it's been scary how quickly things have changed. And from a very active gentleman to where he's at now is kind of a big change. And we miss him on the Trails Committee, and we certainly, the Conservation League misses him. He's been involved in so many aspects of the community that it's hard to not have him with us at this point. But
And 50 some odd years in scouting, if I recall him saying.
And he still tells us he missed that Eagle Scout. And I know, Andy, we've talked about that, is if you don't get to that Eagle, you regret it all your life. And to hear all the scout activities you heard tonight, and you know, the output of people that do what they do. I know for the Trails Committee, we had 16 Eagle projects that predate the badge awards. So the scouts are working, and they're putting their time and effort back into Penfield, which is pretty spectacular. So I think that spirit of community involvement and the idea of working together is very important to us. The Trails Committee is kind of hearing rumors that the development in their area around the Irondequoit Bay is advancing. And there's some concerns coming up about the applicant apparently completed a questionnaire about not important with the bird watching community. Apparently there was some discussion about a bird observation platform that seems to be disappearing from the plan. And when they were asked about bird watching or some similar statement on a questionnaire, the applicant put not applicable. And we certainly know the eagles are still roosting. They were seen on Saturday at a hike. And that area is a very sensitive area. The bay is certainly a place where waterfowl stop on the way to wherever they're headed, back and forth. We know there's a lot of activities in that area. But we're concerned that the developer seems to be a little bit soft on his commitments to provide access to the waterway and the trails into Abraham Lincoln Park, which has some other challenges. We certainly are not directly connected to it. There's another piece of property in the way.
Right.
But we certainly, if you've walked that park and you've been able to experience that area, a connection down to Empire Boulevard would be a significant addition to it. Right now, you walk and then you walk back because you have no way of getting out at the southern entrance. So the Trails Committee would very much like to be sure that you hear our plea, hear our intent to have a trail that goes along the waterway in that area, goes through the apartment buildings, which are underway, and now they're telling us a sidewalk is acceptable. We don't find that the kind of trails we'd like to support. We'd like to see a soft surface. We'd like to see people that can do that in a more quiet environment than walking down a sidewalk along Empire Boulevard. That doesn't seem to be an acceptable answer for us. And the commitments were made, now we're building, we have shovels in the ground, and suddenly the plans are changing, we think. None of it is written down, it's all verbal at this point, but we want to express to the board, your elected officials, our people that are representing us, that when these plans come forward and they go through the torturous path like Walmart has done, that you remember that we've staked our claim. We want to have the people have access to the waterway. We want them to get the ability to walk into Abraham Lincoln Park, and this is a key piece of that. We want to be sure that the people that enjoy watching birds and see them nest and float through the water get that opportunity. And it's not a deck on top of a clubhouse. It's something that's in a quiet area that could let you be calm rather than just an additional thought put to kind of get the plan more appealing, perhaps, to the approval process. So that we're hearing things through that bird community. We're also hearing that that process is advancing. Jim Costello is aware of our concerns. We passed those along through the proper channels. But I want to be sure that you hear that the Trails Committee is saying we'd like to get into Abraham Lincoln Park. We'd like to respect that ability to walk and share the good outdoors when we have that few months of weather that let us do that. And keep that in mind when indeed that process comes forward, that we don't think that it's going the direction we'd like it to go. And we want to be sure you keep our thoughts in your minds.
I did see a note. I just briefly glanced at it late this afternoon before I went to the Eagle Project program. And it was Jim Costello correcting some misinformation that somebody had where they had heard, and again, they didn't, the individual who is not even a town resident had indicated that they had heard something, and Jim had corrected that from that individual, and in a very nice professional way, saying, make sure that you've got possession of all your facts before you're out sharing information that was not accurate. So I did see that brief note. Like I said, I just glanced over, but one of the things it did address was a comment regarding the birding component. So I need to better understand how that came about and why, because again, when the project was approved, the board was very specific about connectability. I mean, that's been one of the big things that we've been looking at is the interconnectability, the fact that we do have so much parkland around there, the fact that in a perfect world you would come all the way from our southern end all the way through right up to the bay, and then continue on up into Abraham Lincoln Park. And so we have gaps, and we know we have gaps, but it's not because we're not trying. So we're looking at every possibility to try to connect those. So I'll take a closer look at Jim's note, but that may be part of the source of what you may have heard, Joe. I'll have to, like I say, I'll just have to look at that a little bit closer.
And again, rumors come and they go,
Right.
and it's important to bring them out. We've talked about
Absolutely.
it at the Trails Committee, and we're concerned.
Right.
But maybe it's not a significant issue, but if we don't state what our desires are, and our ability to walk from Empire Boulevard into Abraham Lincoln Park is what we'd like to ask for. And I think everybody would agree that that's a good mission. We know there's going to be some issues, but we've overcome most of the issues we've ever had to overcome, and we continue to work together collaboratively with the property owners and town staff to be sure we get easements, and you're good at that, and I think that's important to us. But the idea being, if something comes up in the early stages of development, we don't want it to be contentious. We want it to be part of the approval process to say, here's our wish. If we can get that, that's fine. If we can't get that, we'll compromise. But the idea of being able to walk through this community is important to us as a Trails Committee.
So when is your next Trails Committee meeting?
It's the first Tuesday of every month, so we had one yesterday.
Right. I missed the one yesterday.
Yep.
I've attended the last handful,
Yes.
and I missed the one yesterday. And I think the next one is May 7th sticks in my mind, but
Could be.
don't hold me
So
to that.
would it be helpful that on or before May 7th, there's sort of an official response to the Trails Committee with respect to some of these possible misconceptions, so that at your May meeting, then you have an idea as to the status of what's been agreed upon, where the project is at. I think Jim Costello is probably the best person to kind of spearhead that. Then you will have something productive for your May meeting so you're not spending your meeting talking about who's heard what and what the situation is. Would that be helpful?
Absolutely. We'd welcome anybody to come and give us whatever they know of what's happening. These rumors start, and they get into a committee, and we talk them out among ourselves, and I thought talking to you would be a great way to bring them out. We want to be sure that we're factual, not working in rumors. And again, I understood that the person raising the bird issue apparently has backed off, so maybe they had gotten their facts correct at this point. But the Trails Committee, in setting our plans and trying to find these opportunities, especially in a development like this, to get a prime piece of real estate that we can walk, it would be a real feather in our cap.
Right.
And again, as the developer is considering that, we want to be sure that the statements made in the planning groups get adhered to. And we talked about that water access and that ability to do a trail through that piece of property was something we want to be sure is on record and is a wish for us to have. And that benefits all the Penfield community. Okay?
Yeah, so the meeting is the 6th. Just to confirm for the record, it is the 6th.
Okay.
And before that time, we'll make sure, and like I say, I think Jim Costello may have already addressed it, and I'll just reconfirm that tomorrow.
Very good.
For that. So,
Appreciate that.
all
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you. And our best, I know a number of folks have been either calling or stopping in to visit with Ed, so we've been keeping an update as to where he is, so.
We've been making sure we've been providing him hard copy of our Conservation Board minutes, or else we'll get in trouble with him.
That's probably true, very true. Okay.
And Four Corners updates.
And Four Corners updates, right. Okay, anyone else in the audience that would like to address? Yes, Tim. And before Tim comes up, anyone else? Give every first-time speaker, okay. No, I just want to make sure that we didn't miss any first-time speakers, Tim.
Thank you, and very briefly, Tim Murphy, 48 Corral Drive. Mr. Supervisor, Town Board, I missed one point in my earlier time at the podium. I wanted to ask, I was on the Park and Rec Advisory Board for over 12 years, and I took a look at the departmental goals from the Director of the Recreation Department, and I saw no reference in there to reconstitute a board. Now, if I went back and I look at the master plan, it does reference, and I could read verbatim, that focus group. So some of the conversations we've been having tonight, kind of lead into, why don't we have some kind of citizen organization beyond the Trails Committee, which was always a subset of the Park and Rec Advisory Board, to help with this process. You and I have talked offline, Mr. Supervisor. You know how strongly I feel about it. I still think it's a continuing priority. I don't see it in the goals. Could you help me with the position?
One of the things that we said then, and I think I've continued to say, is that working with Chris Bilo, our director, that as the need arises for different focus groups, that we would bring those folks together. So we've had one for the master plan. When we were going through and updating the master plan, we brought in a number of folks. Recently, we brought in a number of folks working on the 501c3 to get that up and running, to provide input, feedback to our attorneys. So as different items come up, certainly focus groups will be used. No different than we're using for mixed use and the work that we're doing there, and then the other mixed use districts that we've got coming up. Besides 250, 286, the Manitou Lake, that we'll look to continue to engage folks to be involved along those lines.
Well, Mr. Supervisor, quite frankly, to me personally, that's unacceptable. Penfield, one of the things we're noted for is our tremendous parks and rec facilities and programming. And again, Mr. Quinn here was part of it. Linda Cole's been part of it. We've had a great legacy. And part of the reason I think quality of life is so good in Penfield is because of those facilities. And some of the conversations we've been having tonight, I think, community input is terribly important, and we missed that. So I'd just like to say on record that I think it should be a priority. I know there's a number of people that feel strongly the same way. The Trails folks we know where they're aging out. It would be great to kind of reconstitute it, maybe bring in some of the sports organizations, and find a way to get that voice back into the conversation.
Always interested in new people for the Trails Committee, Tim.
Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Heard you loud and clear. All right. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, we'll continue on with our agenda. Additions and deletions to the agenda. Seeing none, we'll have the minutes of March 5th, 2014 before us, and we'll entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I move that the minutes of March 5th be approved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. I'll ask, is there any discussion on those minutes as submitted? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Great, thank you. Since our last meeting, has the board or the clerk received any petitions on any matter?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolution by function, starting with Law and Finance, please.
Authorization to release portions of storm sewer easements in Section 1 and Section 3 of the Wyndham Woods subdivision.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas upon approval of Sections 1 and 3 of the Wyndham Woods subdivision, the town of Penfield required storm sewer easements to convey water through a pipe system and recorded stormwater easements in the LIBR 341 of maps page 85 in Section 1 and LIBR 343 of maps in page 21 in Section 3. Whereas upon construction of the project due to grading modifications, it was determined that there was no longer a need for the stormwater to be conveyed through a pipe system in the areas identified in portions of said easement, and said storm water could be conveyed through swales, which can be maintained by property owners rather than the town, no longer necessitating the need for portions of the stormwater easements. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a release easement to permit the release of portions of existing stormwater easements in Section 1 and Section 3 is shown on maps entitled Wyndham Woods Subdivision, Sections 1 and Section 3. Thank you.
Discussion on this resolution? See no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for town engineer to attend New York chapter of American Public Works Conference in Syracuse, New York.
So moved.
Second?
The New York chapter of the American Public Works Association is holding a training conference in Syracuse, New York. The town board supports continued education of staff to stay current with technology and constantly changing regulations. The New York chapter provides an excellent training agenda that covers many areas of interest for the town of Penfield, and the New York State education law requires the continued training of our professional engineers. The cost of this program and travel costs shall not exceed $320, and it will be paid for from the engineering department's training budget. Now therefore be it resolved that Jeff Benway is hereby authorized to attend the New York chapter of the American Public Works Association Annual Conference to be held April 3rd and 4th, 2014, for a cost not to exceed $320. The cost will be allocated from the engineering department's conference budget line.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Awarding contract for 2014 turf and field mowing.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas sealed bids were sought and requested in a manner prescribed by law to furnish the Department of Public Works with a service contract that would provide the town of Penfield with turf and field mowing for the 2014 season. And whereas on November 26, 2013, at 11 a.m. local time, the following sealed bids were received, opened, and read publicly from the following list of suppliers: Ted Hosmer Enterprises, Garden Grove, Boone & Sons, RM Landscape Incorporated, Rochester Lawn Care Incorporated, Curb Solutions Incorporated, and Cardinal Lawn and Landscape Incorporated. Whereas upon review, the quotes received, which are attached to this resolution for weekly, biweekly and field mowing, it was determined that the weekly mowings for facilities and athletic fields would continue to be maintained in-house, and the mowing for biweekly and field mowing for parks and open space would be contracted out. Whereas the lowest responsible bid for biweekly and field mowing meeting or exceeding all specifications was received from Rochester Lawn Care Incorporated, 1592 Qualtrough Road in the town of Penfield for the following services: biweekly mowing at $1,290 per pass, and field mowing for $1,250 per pass. Now therefore be it resolved that a contract be and hereby is awarded to Rochester Lawn Care Incorporated, 1592 Qualtrough Road, Penfield, New York, for all the biweekly and field mowing per the town specifications, and that the supervisor is authorized to sign the contract upon review by the town attorney. Be it further resolved that the town rejects all the bids submitted for the weekly mowing of facilities and for athletic fields that was contained as part of the original bid package.
Discussion.
Just real quickly, Mr. Supervisor, first I want to thank you for bringing this forward. You know, I do think that you go above and beyond what may be required of a supervisor to try to look at different cost-saving measures for the town, whether it's, you know, $75,000 or whether it's $5,000. You continually bring these type of initiatives before the town board for us to consider. And I know as a taxpayer and other taxpayers certainly do appreciate this. This particular resolution, you know, we have vetted it a couple different times at work sessions that are now televised, and I think it's a common sense approach. I think the fact that it's a pilot project is good. Gives us a chance to see if it's going to be successful or if it's not going to be successful. Time will tell. But at least we're giving it a shot. At least we're giving a shot to try to save some money for taxpayers. Whatever that dollar amount may be, we're not sure yet, but I'm confident that it will enable us to save some money. In my opinion, it better utilizes town employees. You have parks employees, and you have facilities employees, town facilities employees that are doing better jobs, that are doing more important jobs on facilities such as this building or the community center and the library, or at helping keep our parks safe for, you know, the thousands and thousands of families that and sports teams that use our parks. So it's a better utilization of those employees versus mowing lawns. You know, we all know, and we discussed this a little while ago, that certainly if you have to go out and hire additional employees, there's more of a cost than what you might see up front. Certainly you have a salary of that employee, but you also have health care coverage of the employee, and you have potentially retirement costs of that employee, pension costs. So all that adds up, and we're not doing that with this resolution. With that, I'm prepared to give this a shot. I think it's a good idea. I think we vetted it pretty thoroughly at work sessions, and I commend you for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Other discussion or comments?
I would emphasize, as stated in the resolution, is really the concern, very little concern was brought to my attention. The concern, perhaps it's because I'm a sports mom, was what about the athletic fields that our town staff maintains currently, and I just want to highlight again that this does not include athletic fields.
Seeing no further discussion, then I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This authorized the supervisor to sign one recreation contract. It's for Downbeat Percussion, who's going to perform in the Independence Day Parade on July 4th.
Just around the corner. All right.
Warm and sunny.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none. Any new business to come before the board? Again, seeing none. This takes us to our second public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter that are here? Certainly 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. Seeing none and seeing no further business come before the board this evening, this meeting will stand adjourned at 9:21 p.m. Thank you to PCTV, and thank you to all of those in attendance for your comments.